Good afternoon, everyone. I am Rana Ravi from Committee on MSME and Startup. I would like to welcome our speaker,
Hello
CA
everyone,
Atul
welcome
Chawla,
to the
sir.
session. So I would like to welcome all these CAs from the fraternity and the other the other fraternity. So we so today's session is on MSME. This is the part of the MSME Policy 2.0. So
Manu, sir, your voice is cracking.
growth partner. So this is organized by our chairman sir, CA Gyan Chand Mishra ji, and vice chairman sir, Kabra. And the speaker for the session is CA Atul Chand. So I would like to
We are so sorry for that, sir. Actually, our coordinator, he don't have a good internet connection right now. So that's why I think we should wait another minute for him. Shit, yeah. Sir, actually, our coordinator has lost the connection today. So I would like to welcome our today's speaker, CA Atul Chawla sir, for today's seminar. Today is the 18th 80 session for conducted by MSME and Startup Committee. Sir, over to you, sir. Atul sir,
Thank you.
and
Thank you
I'm
so
so sorry for that.
perfectly all right. Perfectly all right. Perfectly all right.
Okay, sir.
On the first of all, I want to thank MSME committee for giving me this opportunity for sharing the broad knowledge, you can say, or the experience that we have had, especially in the areas of MSME as a growth partner. And we've always said that it's time that apart we understand as a CA. I think our core responsibility is to look after the backbone of any corporate or any client for that matter, whatever be the size is, be it micro, small, or medium, or even large. Of course, our priority and the core responsibility definitely lies in the direct and indirect taxes that it has been bestowed upon us. But along with that, I think it's also a time when we also need to grow beyond. We also want that our clients should be anxious to meet us and understand what can be his next level of growth and how we can be the growth partner apart from the compliance responsibilities that we have. And of course, we've been known for it, and we're proudly known for it actually, be it indirect taxes or direct taxes, or for that matter any kind of complexities in taxation. But I think it's also very necessary to grow beyond compliances and get an expertise on the areas of I would say being a kind of a CFO. Suppose you're hired as a CFO. So what is the role and responsibility, and what is the differentiator between a normal traditional practice and what is the need from an MSME, that he would rather be more keen to meet us or discuss with us his next growth strategy. I think this is the whole session is all about that, and that is the core requirement of today. Because what we understand is that a lot of the seminars are being done for the CAs, so that especially for the practicing CAs, to enhance their capabilities. Just like we have recently seen that AI has taken over the market, and now everybody is concerned, and equally, he requires to learn all those AI programs, AI courses, especially from the ones that have been organized by AI, ICAI also. But beyond that, our core experience is that we don't have to be just relying upon our the historical strength. I think what we need is more forward looking approach where we can help our clients grow beyond, and that is the whole purpose of this session. I welcome all the people who have, all the members who have actually joined online, and I would also request that if you have any questions, you may ask on a regular basis, because otherwise, because this is not really a technical session, it's more of a knowledge sharing session where something what I have personally found very encouraging in last couple of years. That is why I requested the MSME committee that in case they allow me to share the knowledge, and I'm really obliged for having been got this opportunity today. So I would be sharing my experience how, because we are also a traditional practicing firm, and we've been doing it from the last 20 25 years. But suddenly, when we enhanced our, I would say, the vertical of our services and ventured into the areas of private equity, venture capital, or startups, and especially from the MSME perspective, how an MSME can really grow beyond just a bank loan. That is where I think we personally felt very encouraged, and the kind of response that we have seen in last, especially in the last 3 4 years, has been tremendous. And that is what we want to share, and that is what we want to even discuss with our members, that in case they also would want to really grow in that kind of, because we all want that more and more people should come to us and understand, as the clients, and to maybe to understand what is the opportunity, what is the further services that a CA can give. So I think this whole session is all about that. And so I'm just So I'm just sharing a very basic, uh, I would say, a PPT here. It's nothing very fancy. So we have a fancy thing also uh, prepared. But I thought, because since this is not really a very technical session, which would need a detailed law and the definitions of the law, rather it is something which I have felt as experience, that there are opportunities beyond being a tax officer or a tax compliance uh, consultant. There are requirements from a CA where the MSME looks forward to join hands with us, or wants us to be the consultant on a very regular basis or a whole time basis, and that is a very big opportunity that many of us are still not aware. For example, if I'll ask you people also who are now seeing this particular session, how many of you are actively or have an interest in the areas of venture capital, private equity, or of course, IPO? I understand is a very detailed thing. Only you need a very specific team of merchant banking. But otherwise, how many of you have seen that a lot of your clients would be getting new businesses, or they have got some great ideas? They would come to you, and probably you would say go to a bank, and probably that's a only advice that you can give to them. Then probably if a bank can help you because you don't have it, or probably he can't otherwise rely to anybody else. So if I need to ask people who are watching this conference today, had you been a consultant to him, and suppose he's got a tender, suppose of 50 crores, how would you advise your client? Or you would just let him go to some banker or some other consultant or some other practitioner, because that is your client. You would not want to lose him also, and that is where it is imperative that we gain that knowledge as to how we can help him grow. Because with every growth of every of your client, the respect, regard, and of course the consultation grows higher, because it's not something that we are not doing any broking service, but we surely giving him a very foresighted experience, and where we feel that it is necessary today that as practicing CAs we must know the upcoming areas of private equity, venture capital, venture debt, structured debt, or how are the HNIs now investing money today. There are a lot of HNI families who are actually branching out of not investing more into real estate. For example, there are a lot of, I would say, cricketers or celebrities or people with high net worth who want to invest now not in the real estate but actually into those segments or those companies where they can actually now then reap in say 3 to 4 years or maybe in maybe 5 to 7 years their growth is something like 10x, 5x, or maybe even 20x also. And there are a lot of people or a lot of fund houses who have seen that kind of growth, especially at the exits when they have taken in the IPO or in the secondary round of fundraise. So from here, any questions that you have, I'll be very happy to take them along. So broadly, how we feel that what has been the traditional practice for all of us, like it's like, of course, the growth opportunities both for the MSME and of course for us also, and probably because we've been, typically into the historical way of approach where our forward-looking advices have at times not really helped our clients. And since we do not have the idea or we don't have the expertise, many a times, we are not able to advise our clients. So if I can take some practical examples, for example, there's a very popular case of a company called Bira. So they are into liquor and their sale of liquor. They rose through private equity. They rose very fast. They were planning for an IPO, and that is the time when they realize that to go to an IPO they need the company to be limited and not private limited. That is where what would have been a very routine practice of converting the company from a private limited company to a limited, but at that stage they didn't realize that it would take them almost 6 months, because for the liquor there are, for every state you need a separate license, and since every license has to be in the name of the main company and not the converted one, it took them 6 months, which actually resulted in the loss of sale and loss of market value, lot of capitalization, loss of, and then the cumulative losses also. So one, if a consultant or your if your client is growing at that kind of pace, I think it's I think the responsibility as well as an opportunity for us that we work along with our client, and timely we are able to advise him how he needs to change the gear, what will be the next course of action, how he can actually go 5x from here. So unless we are not forward looking ourselves, then I think till then it becomes very difficult for us to actually advise him on such products or such services. And then that is where the lack of strategic guidance also happens, that there are a lot of cases that we have recently seen of companies who have lost a lot of businesses because of such reasons. Very recently we met a client where they are basically in the process of raising tenders for government tenders for their products. And in that also, once they planned for an IPO, it took them almost 3 months. But in those 3 months, there unfortunately that happened in the last quarter of the year, and because of that, they lost almost 50% of their top line just because of the conversion, because they could not compete with the tender in the old company name. So I think these all things are part and parcel of the experience, where we need to tell our clients. So depending upon the how equipped we are, accordingly we plan our clients, we work with them, and we also guide them in a lot of other places. So there are many other opportunities where you can actually be a long term support to your client, and that is where the real purpose or the real I would say opportunity to act as the virtual CFO arises. Now, I don't know how many of you are actually practicing as a virtual CFO to your clients, or who have been hired as a virtual CFO, where you're actually not really working for him on a direct payroll, but definitely you are working parallelly, and you're actually advising him not only on the historical databases but also on the forward-looking, futuristic target basis also. Suppose a client is at X and he wants to go to 5x, and then probably at that time he's planning an IPO, but today he may not have funds to scale up to 5x, then how do you do that? So unless we don't have the knowledge, or we don't have the expertise, I think it'll become very difficult for you to guide him. Similarly, is what is necessary is that you have to also tell that to your clients how it is important that not only we in terms of raising private equity venture capital, so in other than that also how he has to take care of the equity base or the valuation, or that is where the valuation is also one of the big areas that is upcoming for the CA fraternity, and especially with a lot of opening up from the 1st of the April coming year, I think there'll be a big opportunity for us to market ourselves as experts in the domain. So I think it's very interesting. And in case you are actually still planning to branch out to other services, or maybe add more services into your practice, I think this is one of the best times where the programs like Shark Tank and many other such programs, or there's another program which is called Foundry, where a lot of people have now got awareness even in small towns also. So it is not limited to only top 3 or 4 cities of the country. Today, I think in the tier one, tier two, or even tier three cities are now equally, active about what is Shark Tank, and how a lot of people who would otherwise have called their business just a normal business, they're actually registering themselves as being, I would say, private equity, sorry, as a startup, and not just as a startup, but also to register themselves in a way that we have more and more people to get ideas where they can actually create value for the companies, and that is why the session is all about. So in case till now you have any questions, we would be very happy if you can still uh, have it on the chat box as to how you want to really expand your business or expand your services, because this is something which is very, very exciting. Now, coming to why I would be taking this session is because I want to share a very practical advice. It is not very theoretical. I'm sure there are a lot of theoretical classes around this, but my personal experience of last 3 to 4 years is that my personal practice has grown almost, I would say, 5x. And what we see from here onwards is that we can keep up this momentum probably for the next 3, 4, 5 years, because earlier we used to personally struggle to add maybe one client a month, but today, touchwood, with the way we have added our services under one roof, we've got a team of direct taxes, we have a team of indirect taxes, we have a team of consultation, we have a team of, I would say, investment banking, treasury, and we are seeing that there are working startups who are coming to us. They're working MSMEs who are now walking up to us and asking us how we can really help them to grow their businesses, or their benefits. So, for example, if I would say from the perspective of the value-added services only, so there are a few things I've just before we can go into some kind of more technical things, from the basic perspective. What do we really feel that has been the differentiator between our traditional practicing CAs and those who are now into the more upcoming areas? We've been always following the backward approach, or the historical approach. The client gets you the data in any of the formats of tally or whatever. You probably make his return, or probably advise upon it, or maybe just audit on the basis of that. But have you been into the forward looking approach also? Because from an MSME perspective, what he requires is not just a person who finds out mistakes in the businesses, or in the accounting rather. What he wants is how he can take his business grow bigger. How many of you are actually keen to evaluate yourself, or see yourself doing that? How many of you actually want that the clients approach you not only for being a consultant for an audit perspective, but also to take advice as to, suppose, for example, if I'm talking about MSME, How many of you would have advised your MSME companies to also register yourself at the DPIIT for startups? And then we'll have to understand ourselves what is the definition of DPIIT in case we can also help him get ATISC certification. We have got ATIC certification for a lot of our clients, and that is again a value-added services which also gives you professional income and the knowledge, because ATIC is also requires that they don't give it to anybody who was registered in DPIT. In DPIT, there'll be I don't know, maybe around 5 lakh or maybe even more startups that are registered. But the DPIIT would not have given to even 5,000 the ATIC certification. So, what is the difference between a traditional business versus a startup? What is the difference between a startup, a registered startup, but the ones who can get an ATIAC? Similarly, we are only into the what kind of businesses are we in? Are we only into the areas of filing returns of our clients, or we are already too occupied in just filing the returns, or we are also helping him grow? I mean, like planning is growth. That if you reach one threshold, what is the target for the new? How do you raise the bar and try to reach out to the higher levels tomorrow? Similarly, how you can actually help him, maybe suppose he's got a tender of say 50, 100 crores, and he doesn't have collateral, and he comes to you. What is the solution that you can give to him? Now either he loses it because he has to invest money himself, or or we lose the client, because he may go to some other CA, or he may go to some other financial consultant. So I think it's time that we have to learning the AI is also very important, because that automation will definitely help us in not only smoothing our businesses, but also helping him to streamlining his business. But also we have to be helping him in his growth. So planning the growth along with the filing of returns is equally important today. Similarly, then reactive versus proactive, because reactive is historically, when we've all seen, that there's a demand that has been raised, there's a penalty that has been raised, that we're filing a reply for that, or maybe litigation for that. And then proactive is how we can actually tell them how we foresee that there may be a problem that may be coming sometime in the future, or as the businesses grow, what all financial or other areas that you can actually help him to be prepared before that there is that kind of log jam. So I think these are the areas where this whole session is all about. Or you want to be just the cost center or the value creator? Because I think this is very important. We've always seen, especially in our own practice, that the clients would have thought that CA is a cost center, and since we don't add any value, we don't get value ourselves. So I think we'll have to increase. We have to create our value more, so that they are happy to take our advice in each kind of their growth. They look upon us for our valuable information, our valuable advice, and because we have to grow above that typical cost center versus a value creating consulting firm. So we don't remain just as a cost center, but we are more ambitious ourselves, because with each growth of each of the clients, it's we also grow along with it. So our whole purpose of asking again and again is that in case you have any questions till now, we would be happy to take any kind of questions that you may have, so that we don't lose on this opportunity. And trust me, with my own personal experience, I'm saying we never had this kind of interesting phase in our practice, where the clients approach us almost on a very regular basis, or fresh clients approach us on a very regular basis, and that too across the country, because we are now guiding them, handholding them to really go on to the next level or the next stage of growth. And thanks to the areas of private equity, of course, which we will discuss now, where we all need to understand that what is the real difference between a venture capital, venture debt, private equity, or suppose your client is looking for something, then whom would you approach to? Who are the right people to approach to? And because there are a lot of fund houses that are working now, and they all have their own thesis of investments. So I think it is very important for us to understand what kind of advice we can give to them. Meanwhile, we have one or two questions coming up. I would like to take them up. How can a chartered accountant act as a long-term growth partner rather than only a compliance professional for MSMEs? This has been my personal experience that because we were ourselves were typically a compliance officer, our approach or I would say our interaction with our clients, or not even the clients, their accounting team was limited till only taking care of the returns that they were submitted. Either we would be of course checking them on internal audit also, or the statutory audit. In both of cases, we used to end up historically checking the clients if they have filed the returns right or wrong, the advance taxes have been paid properly or not, has there been any interest on the the taxation perspective or the GST perspective, or there are any penalties that have come up, and we are ending up only in the giving the replies to the departments. But our relation never grew beyond that. But what is now necessary is that we have to become the growth partner. Growth partner means where the clients would walk up to you and look up to you, and so not only you have responsibility of taxation, but also for his growth. And that growth will obviously come when you give him more better ideas, that otherwise probably he'll also be limited in his thoughts, because he has only seen a traditional banker to help him. Of course, for all those viewers who are still with us, though I'll wait for your answer. I don't know how many of you answer or not, or right answer or not. How many of you believe that you can help your clients raise, or how much, rather I would say, how much you think is a typical unsecured business loans that we all can get as a business? I would wait for your answers. How much is the normal unsecured business loans that normally is available or that is received by an NBFC or a bank? Because this is something that I'm asking as a very basic question, because this is something that will come up quite often. Because what happens is, many a times, be it a micro or a small, even a medium company, they would have gone to their banks, they would have evaluated the best amount that the banker could have given them. But then what happens is, then they get the more business that they are getting, or they want to for example, all these startups, for example, they don't have any collaterals in the beginning. How would you help them to grow? Would you be able to help them, or probably your engagement is limited only in filing their returns, or it is just limited to just helping them some kind of affiliations? So what is necessary is that, in fact, for those who may not know it, I want to just inform them that today there are fund houses, debt fund houses, or the new age fund houses, I would say, which are giving an amount of almost up to 200 crores of unsecured business loans. Yes, you've heard it right. Up to 200 crores. Of course, the writers are there that the company should be actually profitable. The company should be, they should have positive cash flows, or a benchmark of the turnovers, or they should not be over leveraged, or they should not have any kind of black spots in them. But this is the kind of, because now there are a lot of NBFCs, a lot of fund houses that are grown with an approach which says that we are trusting the businesses beyond the collaterals. Earlier, it was not that. Earlier, it was typically about just getting the funds from the banks. In fact, we meet a lot of CFOs today who are still not aware of this, that even if they've got, they have exhausted all their collaterals, yet they can raise funds. Secondly, how many of you are working on startups? Because that is also one of the areas where there's a huge amount of, not only professional growth for us, but also an opportunity of, value creating. So, how many of you are actually working with the startups? In the meantime, we have one more question coming up. I'm a fresh, into CA practice. Earlier, I was doing job. I have no experience serving the MSME. Can you lay down stepwise how should I upskill and position myself to grow in the practice here? Definitely, why not? This is the whole session is all about that only. Basically, as a practicing chartered accountant at any point of time, it is very necessary that either you join the MSME forums that are there, or you have the lot of CII or the PhD or FICI, where they have a lot of and you meet the people there. Of course, you communicate, but that will be typically in an organic way of just meeting one to one. But I think in the new age of value creation, if you are able to enhance your knowledge both in terms of AI and where you can actually lay down even in their practice, how you can lay down in automation, how you can lay down in terms of smoothing of their business, and also then comes the area where you can actually plan their growth. I think that is the time, that is the opportunity how you can actually also help them grow. So I think it's a mix of responsibilities of both ends. In case you have any other questions, we are happy to take them along also. So from here onwards, if you can think about what all knowledge that we need to raise, tax efficient structuring, of course, as I said, that ATIAC is one of the very interesting areas, and who all are required to get, who all are actually allowed to get ATIAC, or how your MSME clients can be first registered into a startup at DPIIT, and then from there, if you can study his business model, is it a traditional business or it is a startup? Then you'll have to understand what the definition of startup that has been drawn by ATIAC or the Income Tax Department or the DPIIT, to whom they consider as as a startup. And then, of course, is the capital raising support. And in that capital raising support also, what we have seen in the last couple of years, that there are almost over 100 private equity or venture capital fund houses today. But what happens is that each and every one has their own investment thesis, I would say. So some may be interested in deep tech, fintech, or maybe into the brands, into the consumables, into the FMCG. So or somebody would be happy to take the actual investment target of between 2 to 5 crores, or 5 to 50 crores, or 50 crores to 100, or maybe even 200 crores. So I think you have to understand, who are the people who are today investing in businesses, who are the financial partners or the strategic partners that you can invite along with your client, and that is how you can help him grow as well. Similarly, there are a lot of people from the engineering backgrounds or from the medical backgrounds who may have their good ideas, but they need financial forecasting support. That is one more area that which I think as a CA traditionally we have been what our expertise in kind of preparing the expected cash flows or expected long-term plans, and of course the strategic decision support, that what level of what kind of growth can a debt can be given, or a structured debt and equity can given, or hybrid is what is required today, or mezzanine funding is required today. So with the kind of funding support, with the kind of forward looking approach, and with the kind of opportunities that we can give to our clients, I think that is something which is very important as a part of our consulting. Also, what one to understand was how many of you would be, watching, even from the smaller towns, that there are clients who are, more keen to have, they have some interesting ideas, and how many of you can actually nurture them or help them nurture those ideas into broad, good decisions and good businesses, and tomorrow also help them go till the IPO. That so you have to just hold the finger of your client and take him to the next ladder. That is how we are doing it, and I'm sure every one of us can do it. Till here, in case you have any kind of doubts or questions, of course we can take.
Yes, sir. We have two questions.
Yeah.
I have already shared with you.
So we have another interesting question is that how can what strategic advisory services can CS offer to MSMEs at different stages, and how can CS contribute to professionalizing family-run businesses that are running? So in both the scenarios, how can CA contribute in professionalizing the family-run businesses? Basically, sir, what has happened today is that there is a change in how the businesses were run. If I'm talking about some good HNI families that we are, working with, so what they have seen is that at times the family, the next generation realizes that the next generation is more focused or is more sharp in terms of investing into the right opportunities. So they would rather hire a CEO, a professional CEO, and then they would use their knowledge and their wealth to grow more faster by investing into some great brands. For example, I'm sure a lot of you people must be quite familiar with Shark Tank, where people who were earlier who are actually the CEOs of their great companies are spending more time on on Shark Tank platforms, and they are actually investing also. So that is the whole purpose. How many of like we have got people from ex Snapdeal or the Snapdeal owners, or we've got the boat owners, or we have got the phone pay or the other people. So there are a lot of people who now invest into the other businesses along with their own business. For example, Zerodha is one of the biggest investors today, and having streamlined their own businesses, now they are trying to invest into upcoming businesses. For example, recently we have studied that companies like boat, company like office, company like Nika have given almost 10x, 20x, or even 50x returns to their investors who had initially invested. So these are the people who invest very timely, and these are the people who have actually made their businesses along with the business of investing. For example, if I say in terms of if those who are actually working with or who may have good clients, there are a lot of people who are a lot of the I would say the film stars, a lot of the cricketers who've got good amount of wealth coming in. They don't invest in real estate, as I said earlier also. They have got people like us, they hire people like us who are actually sharp in understanding what is the new businesses that can come up. So for example, if you are a consultant to such kind of HNIs, you can actually take them to the MSMEs or such kind of emerging startup platforms where you can actually advise your clients that these are the other companies that are have a good scope. They may directly align to your investment thesis also. So you can actually become a good investment banker to your clients. You can also become a good financial advisor to your clients, as we say, as a portfolio managers. So it's not about portfolio. It's not only about limiting yourself to mutual fund investments. It is today about helping them invest into such kind of opportunities that have got a global potential of rising maybe 10x, 20x, or even 100x. So what is necessary is that we need to first of all increase our bandwidth, our knowledge. It's just that without sharpening our skills, and if we are working on a traditional skills only, probably we cannot deliver the best to our clients, because our clients are expecting much more from us now. How can CS contribute to professionalizing family-run MSMEs? So basically, in a typically family-run MSME businesses, what happens is that they would be still be running in that old traditional approach of where a lot of documentation is on the paper. What you can advise them is that how you can digitize, because if you are having for example, ICAI has their AI workshops, a 3-day course. I think it is very important for all of us to join that, because having done that course, you'll have some knowledge about the technology and how technology is helping us For example, recently we have seen after coming with the Chat GPT that how the technology has helped us is not only making the uh, answers for our appeals, for our any kind of proposals, or we learn the art of making the good PPTs, or we learn the art of streamlining our businesses. For example, there are softwares where you can just now scan your typical invoices, and they scan the entire thing and they help you auto post. Now if you want to professionalize your client, so you can advise them, so this can also be a project for you where you actually take up as a turnkey that will automate the entire process. For example, we have a client uh, where we actually help them to not only automate but also get an ATIAC on that basis. Earlier, they were not having that, the knowledge of that particular segment. We actually help them in automate their whole process of NBFC, how they can actually, digitize their, the I would say, screening process. So, with the help of the digitizing of the screening process, automation of getting the data from, collecting it from the typical, I would say, wallets, and then now the banks statements, how you can actually mobilize most of the documents on a scan basis rather than taking all that physically, which was done earlier. And because of this reason, we were able to get the ATIC also, and they have enjoyed a 3 year of income tax benefit. So I think with the first of all, we'll have to enhance our knowledge, and then only we can actually use that knowledge into our clients. So unless, because even today many of the clients are still working on the traditional approach where they have large, and that is where the lot of startups which are backed by engineers or people who have had knowledge of that engineering background has actually, they have not only streamlined their businesses, but because of that a lot of businesses have gone onto their platforms. So unless we not know about them, we may not be able to help our clients also. So it is necessary for us to first get ourselves, the knowledge how these AI things happens. So I think it's a mix of both. It's as a technology as well as forward-looking partnership as to how you can see that one is MSME becoming more smoother in their businesses, and then the next is how you can actually see his growth happening. So, and in both the scenarios, trust me, this is a personal experience that we have experienced, that the kind of response we have got, that earlier that we had to run for our for our clients to get more clients, but today I think the last couple of years we have stopped moving out to get a client. I mean, like, there are people, the referrals have increased automatically, and I'm not saying it more on the theoretical basis or for the purpose of saying, we've actually seen it in our own company. And that is why the whole purpose of taking this opportunity together to share with all our brothers and members today. So, in case you still have any other doubts in your mind, what exactly is the uh, other areas where MSME would require services, or as how the startup whole thing works, as we discuss further, I'm sure a lot of you people would have worked upon with startups, or you would understand what is the difference between a normal startup or an MSME, of course. What is a startup? Just not an AI startup, rather, it can be any startup. What is the difference between a startup or a normal businesses? Of course, every business is an MSME, but then what is the difference between the two? And similarly, what is the difference between the equity funding? How can the loss-making companies also raise equity? Loss-making startups, those who have got a loss of 200 crores are still able to raise 200 crores. But was it traditionally happening or not? Or why it is happening? Or who are the people who are investing and why are they investing? So I think all these questions, and I'm sure you should understand, because that is where the whole the deal is. That is where you can actually crack the deal. That is how you can actually increase your personal practice also. And similarly, global versus local, of course. If you can have global partnerships, if you have global alliances, and that is how, that is one way of further nurturing your practice, where you have global collaborations, where in case people are coming from all over the world who want to set up shop in India. They have a trust on you, trust on your services, and so you can actually take care of their all their accounting, taxation, and probably all kind of other clearances for whatever they require. We have a very interesting question coming here. I would request, all those who are actually watching this particular program, live webinar, to ask the questions, because what we are speaking is not purely from the book's perspective. What we are speaking is purely from our experience of how happy today we are, or how satisfied or finally content that we are doing the right kind of in the right frame today. So we have two questions coming up. I'll take one by one. Can these services be provided by practicing as a chartered accountant, or these can be provided by consultancy company? No, you can actually practice as a chartered accountant also, because it's a difference between, if you as a statutory auditor you may not be able to give them, but apart from, if you even if you are not a statutory auditor of the company, but then there are a lot of services that you can give to, he can be anybody can be a statutory auditor of your particular that company for a startup. You may not have to be a statutory auditor of that company, but then the opportunity to serve any startup is among us. It's very large. I mean, like, it's like you are suppose a statutory auditor of your startup, but then you don't want to lose, and that is where we have the kind of events where all hundreds of CAs coming together. Of course, we have having that one big event, World Economic program in January, where CAs of all over India would come together. The idea of meeting such friends and members is that we are able to exchange our services, barter our services, and maybe learn from each other. What is the core of the other person? So as a chartered accountant, you can definitely give the services of being a financial consultant, and you can be a consultant to hundreds of companies. You don't have to be. So if you're a statutory auditor, of course, then you may have a binding, but you don't have to be a statutory auditor of all the companies you are, especially the startups. They may be the statutory auditor may or may not have that knowledge also. But for us, it's a great opportunity when we are able to give all kind of services or all kind of knowledge. For example, I would say today there are a lot of engineers, or there are a lot of startups who may not have the knowledge of valuation, who may not have the knowledge of creating a CMA data or a project report, or maybe a teaser or a pitch deck, investor deck. So there's a huge opportunity where you can actually be a consultant to them and help them actually prepare a good pitch deck. You help them preparing a financial pitch deck. You help them create a forecast as to how much should you raise, how much at what valuation you should raise, how much you should dilute now, what will be a good debt equity mix, how so would replacing debt with equity is a good idea or not, when to go for an IPO, should IPO be taken today, or maybe it can postpone for 5 years. So I think there are a lot of questions that as an expert, once you are into this businesses, so this best part is what you are doing can go along with your traditional firm also, but with a new knowledge. There are a lot of people who may have their statutory auditors, but yet they would be needing your services, and that is where I think we all have the chance of increasing our practice also. We have a query. I'm currently working with a startup, and often they look for government aids. How can we play a role there? Of course, because for example, uh, so it's not about just a startup. We are also a consultant for government aids, where there are, for example, MSME. For example, they need to set up a manufacturing facility. So in every state, the state government has given subsidies for specific particular industrial sector, or industrial township, or some backward areas. So what happens is that if you are having a knowledge, or you create a domain knowledge of that particular product, as to what all are the government subsidies for be it electricity, be it land, be it from the labor perspective, or the direct subsidy that the government is giving, or even for that matter, the government subsidy or aids in terms of the CGTMS. Now, lot of the MSME or startups may not be aware of the CGTMS schemes that the bankers or the government is giving in terms of funds. So you can also help them in getting that kind of that can be another domain that you can always try to practice, because for each domain you need to be more, first of all, aware of the services or the opportunities that are around you. So even if you're working for a startup, I think the growth opportunity is much higher there, because you can actually be as a growth partner from the very beginning. You can, from the not only from the income tax or direct taxes point of view or the GST perspective, but also how he raises funds, what will be the next line of raising the funds, or the growth opportunities that lie ahead, and the VC funds that are working around. So I think when you're working with a startup, there are a lot of opportunities for you to work along with them on a regular basis. So in case any other questions that anybody would want to keep, so I think you can keep posting us on a regular basis. In this, basically what we are trying to cover is what has been the what has been our traditional approach, and what all is there in store for us. Any of you who've been following up the stories of the startups that we have seen in the past, of course, we have another fresh slide that we run upon that also. But before that, you have any of you who has been currently watching how even in loss-making firms, be it Zomato or there are many actually, Boat or who many, how they've been able to raise funds and take to IPO, and what was the kind of the funds that were raised, or where did they go wrong. So, as a consultant, it's your duty also to uh, inform your promoters or inform your clients where they can go wrong, or what particular advice you can give to them, that that there can be roadblocks ahead. So I think it's not only about helping them raising funds, but also to understand that what can actually be go against them, or what kind of planning can be harmful, or what kind of expenditure that can be wrong. So I think from overall perspective, we need to understand that what is the opportunity that is stored for us as a consultant. Of course, we already discussed about ATISC tax holiday, angel tax planning, R&D innovation benefits. R&D innovation benefits, there are a lot of benefits as we're talking about. As somebody had asked, what are the government aids? So there are a lot of the aids or the subsidies in terms of even registering in the trademarks and patents, where the government is giving discounts, rather, or a subsidy in even in the patent filing cost also. So this is also one of the areas that you can specialize. If you are anybody has an interest in or having a clients who are looking for patents and registering them or the cost on it. So there are government are spending giving almost 80% subsidy also in that areas. Similarly, ATISC, what is ATISC? What is the difference really to get that kind of ATISC? What companies would get ATISC benefits? I think that kind of knowledge is also very important when you discuss about startup to a client, and what will be the benchmark. Is it really making any innovative approach of marketing, scaling, research, or any kind of product where you feel that there was any kind of technological use and innovative use of the products and services? We have got two more questions, so it'll be nice to take up such questions also. And I would again request, since this is not really a very technical session, it's more of a knowledge session, how we all can grow together. So my humble request is to all those participants who are there, if you have any questions, do raise up, because I think this is the time when, purely from our professional, personal experience of having seen the growth in our firm, that we wanted to, share it to all our members across. We have a question coming here. How can CAs help startups comply with the FEMA and RBI regulations during foreign investments? How can we help implement effective budgeting and forecasting? What role can CA play in identifying and availing central and state government subsidies? So this is what again, I'm discussing that, in all these questions, for example, you have a FEMA, you've got the RBI regulations from foreign investments, because for any kind of, for example, I'll tell you my personal, experience. So we had a client who were working on the environment perspective, and very initially when they were bringing in technology, they had a very small investments of only 50 lakhs out of a total equity of almost 5 crores. So they had given a 50 lakhs equity to some Chinese partner. Of course, they were providing technology, but because of that 50 lakhs from a Chinese companies, those people were not able to raise the private equity for the next 5 years until that Chinese investment had to be, was returned. So basically, as a consultant, these are the few things which, you can advise them from the very beginning, that what all will be accepted and what all will not be accepted. And similarly from RBI regulation also. So if you're talking about the the startups, if how, from the equity investments or the debt investments, from what all countries is, right or acceptable or not acceptable. Similarly, if it's also it's a trust or an NGO, then what kind of registrations are required from that point of view also, because without that you cannot accept any kind of donations, or even for research purposes also. And how can we help in effective budgeting and forecasting? I think this is a very strong point, or a strong area. uh, for example, I'll just share my personal experience. We recently came across a very young guy. He's just 18, and just out of college, but he had a very strong business idea. And so his idea was fabulous. We went to the investors, even the investors liked it. Now the investor said, I think we like the idea. So can you create a pitch deck, giving us how much would you require and how much would it, multiply into revenue. Now here that young guy did not have any knowledge, and that is where they approached us. So I think from a CA, this is something that has been, we all have learned it during our training, during our initial years. We also made CM data when we would be doing for bank, forecasting. So this is where, they hired us. And because with each work that you will do, there'll be a lot of learning that will come along. So if you are able to, do a kind of forecasting or budgeting, as to suppose if you're raising 50 crores, how much really cultivate into the revenue, and how much, is expected out of profits. Similarly, it's valuation. Does valuation really, come up? What are the valuation norms that normally investor would look into? For example, for an existing businesses, we were sitting with a client, and with the investors, they liked the idea. And we asked them what will be what is the thumb rule that you follow for the purpose of, investments or the valuation. So they say that typically we invest 20x of the profit or EBITDA. So no matter how much the property you had, that's owned or not owned, or what is the value of your asset. So they have their own benchmark. Is there like a return on the capital? So basically every investment gives you a lot of learning, and that learning is where, you can actually be a part of your client consultant, where you can actually help him to to either get a best value for your equity. And that is where he would need your support as to how much he should dilute at what stage is necessary that he can dilute. So I was discussing about how you can help him from the budgeting and forecasting. Of course, these are the two very important areas where you can actually be a consultant to go to, because you are experienced for in terms of budgeting and forecasting, how much is required for land, building, plant, and how much revenue would be created, what units. So I think with our technical expertise, we can always create a detailed roadmap or detailed financial analytics of to how much can be a great, detailed forecasting in terms of the product and the services. We've got another. What role can he play in identifying the state subsidies? I have told you that there are a lot of government subsidies. Uh, for example, I'll tell you one more example. We were doing this where we got an LOI from Maharashtra government for investment into defense. So Maharashtra government invests directly into the equity of the defense startups. So we were lucky that for our client we were able to get the letter of interest from the Maharashtra government. Now that Maharashtra government had hired, I think SIDBI or some other channel partner, bank or a SIDBI, I think it was SIDBI, I think, where because the Maharashtra government does not invest directly. So basically from those funds, which are funds are transferred to the complying bank or complying company, and then they do the due diligence along with the team of the government, and they had recommended, they had accepted our proposal. It was into defense sector, and up to 20 crores of investment into the defense. We had got the LOI. So this is where a lot of, the more you study into the opportunities around you, the more helpful you would be to your client, and that is where the more opportunity of growth from your clients is there. So we have got one more question coming up. How can CA act as a bridge between MSME and government institutions like SIDBI and NSIAC and DIC? Of course, because um, as I said, MSME and SIDBI, for example, if you're talking about SIDBI, so what happens is that SIDBI has a lot of opportunity, lot of funds that they want to directly invest into the MSMEs, but not many MSMEs are aware of it. As I said earlier, also that typically a company owner, especially if it is an MSME and suppose especially micro and small, whom he may not have a professional CFO. So the owner himself is running around to the banks and he's running around to the NBFCs to raise funds. So if I'll take a break here and I'll share about what are the SIDBI, just two facilities. If I'll share with the gentleman who has asked this question. How can you be a helping partner for your client, especially if you're talking about from SIDBI perspective? So MSN for the SIDBI has two very interesting, would say, loan proposals. One is called Sthapana, if I'm not wrong, and the other is called Express. So you can study them. Like a Sthapana is where where the SIDBI directly invest up to 50 crores into a greenfield project where a promoter has an experience of suppose 3 to 5 years, and he's been running into this similar kind of business to start a greenfield project where because not many banks would give you money in buying the land. Not many banks would be excited to do that. They'll be happy if you buy the land and we may give you for the land building. They'll be happy to put in plant and machinery. But in the SIDBI, typical Sthapna, if I'm not wrong with the name, they give you up to 50 crores where you can actually buy land also. So you can buy land, then you can set up the building and then buy the plant and machinery. And of course, help you in the working capital also. And maximum you have to invest in 25%, 75% is the SIDBI loan. And then you've got another Express. So if you see about that Express thing, it's a purely a digital thing. It's an online thing. In 15 days, you can get up to 1 crore of loan without any collateral. Now, this is something which is very phenomenal scheme of SIDBI. So if you're aware of such services, what happens is you don't have to change your line that, no, we are only tax consultants, we'll not even advise of such projects, or you go to some financial consultant, is basically something that if you sit with your MSME promoter or your client, he would rather feel happy that, at you're acting as a one-stop shop where you're giving him knowledge of both the, helping him how to grow as well as what are the opportunities around you. So if you can go back to SIDBI, for all the express, which is a digital thing, you just upload your project report, you upload your financials, you upload your. So they have got now such a robust system of seeing just from your PAN number, they can create the whole history of last 3 to 5 years, what has been your filing on the income tax from your ROC portal, legal, everything is today all streamlined. The bankers have very strong network where they can have integration of lot of things, lot of platforms, so they know what is the credibility. And next 7 to 10 days, they approve your case, and within 15 days they can give you up to 1 crore of unsecured loan. So that is again one great scheme of SIDBI that I think you can always advise your clients. We have one more question coming. How should a practicing CA charge for each of the services you just mentioned? This is a very interesting question. Um, so it's like, if the more innovative your services are, the more, depending upon how much benefit you can give it to him, get to him rather, I think he'll be happy to pay you more, much more than what he was paying you as a compliance officer, much more that he was just paying you for filing an income, much more that what you're getting for even an audit. So I think the more innovative you are, the more sorry, I think there was some.
It's okay, sir. It's okay.
And of course, yeah, you can always, help him prepare the pitch deck inputs, financial models, due diligence preparation, equity and debt structuring. This is something which is, of course, becomes a global role for a larger role for a virtual CFO. So your role as a CFO is not only about the taxation perspective, but also from the perspective of the services beyond. And there's one more question that has just come up is. How can we improve startup profile so that we can get funding? How can we improve startup profile? So, what happens is that many a times, for example, I was just, reading that there was a lady from Rajasthan, and her husband had just given her a 5 year back smartphone, the cheapest smartphone. And of course, they were economically from a weak background, but purely out of her, I would say, hobby. She, in the Rajasthani language, she had uploaded some Rajasthani recipes. It became so hit that in the 1 month only, she had 1 lakh followers. And then from gradually from there, today in 5 years, she's set up almost 20 outlets of her own. Now this can be a great client for you. Now if you approach her, so that you can change her mindset that this is what you could do from your own funds. You also got some funding from the rather the banks, or probably you raise it only from your own. But from here onwards, if you can give her a vision, if you can give her ideas that how this her business can actually become a full-fledged pan India basis, because there are a lot of companies. If I name a few, IP Ventures, you got Unilever, you got Titan Funds. So all these companies are looking for such kind of products, which are like, it can be FMCG. And in case any of you who want to go into this profile, so there are a lot of areas like which are very hotcakes today. Fintech is one, deep tech is the another, AI is another, cybersecurity is very hot today. Brands is very exciting area where a lot of people are looking for investment in brands, or probably even in clothing brands if you're able to create fresh clothing brands or food brands. Uh, those are questions that are coming are very slow, but I'll still ask a very quick question for all those who are listening. In case you are able to answer me, it'll be nice to see some answers coming up. There is a we have all heard that Haldiram has got a humongous valuation recently. If all of many of you would have heard about it. Now there were two verticals. One is, of course, their food joints, and the other is the packed food, or I would say that the dry packed food, or the So, according to the people who are listening today on this webinar, how much value percentage you feel that was part of the restaurant business, and how much value, or the what was the bigger pricing model? Was it the restaurant, or the packed foods? If any can just have any answers on that, it'll be nice to see how much are you really excited about this whole thing. Because we got a mandate from one of the restaurants uh, who also was into the packed foods. So in case you have any answers on that, definitely it will be nice to see some answers coming up. According to you, which was the higher valuation? Was it the restaurant business was a higher value, or the packed foods, and why? If you have any answers, would love to see that. Um, Well, we haven't got any answers till now. I would say that we were reading that detailed thing. That the restaurant business makes only up to 20% of the entire big market value what Haldiram has. 80% is coming from the packaged food, because that is where the opportunity of growth is humongous. Because for them, creating a restaurant each time is a high capex business, but creating an opportunity of branding and selling the packaged food is much higher. So this is the kind of just knowledge that is coming up with the experience of having worked for such clients. So in terms of pitch deck, or the financial model, or the due diligence preparation, equity and debt structuring, this is one more area. And the other roles that, of course, we all know is data-driven insights, the cash flow management, the budgeting and forecasting, because this is again very important area, and of course the KPI and the performance tracking. So if you are able to learn the automation yourself, or having experience of working with some good corporates where we have seen such KPI and performance tracking programs, you can always deploy that onto your MSMEs and try to make them automated. Try to see that their day-to-day things are more automated, rather than being more manual, where it is difficult to monitor them for a boss, and then he'll be more happy if they are more you are able to actually help them to automate those products, where the monitoring, he can monitor the entire company's performance sitting at his desktop, rather than calling all over again and again and again. Of course, for this, you all need to enhance our capability, so that we can bring these into our clients businesses. And that is where also where the young CAs have an opportunity to grow faster in their practice, when you bring all these services also along onto your clients main businesses, be it cloud accounting platforms, automation, scanning, and auto updates, real-time dashboards, faster compliance, or creating the the entire workflow for any department into such small bits and pieces, where each and every employee, or every person at concerned key person, marks as to how much work has to be done by him, or how much has been completed, at what stage the data is, and the data is secure or not. There are a lot of cyber security firms that are now coming up. So once you are aware, then only you can be advising your clients that what kind of AI threats you have, the cyber security threats you have, be it the API threats or the data thefts, or from even from the staff, or the kind of the password protections. So I think these are all that are now today a part of our responsibility. Of course, depending upon how forward-looking we are, or how prepared or equipped we are. We have another PPT that we'll quickly go. In the meantime, if you have any questions, definitely we would love to see that. Any questions, please, till now, if you have.
Sir, we have one more question. I have sent to you.
Thanks. What role do CS play in improving cost efficiency? How can I help to identify and plug revenue leakages? Of course, that is where the entire learning and experience also counts. Because that is what we are discussing. That once we are able to learn few broad issue, I would say is just give me 1 second. I just run the thing. Yes. Yeah. So basically, the the question that I say, that how can you be acting as a in terms of a role that you can play from the efficiency, improving cost efficiency, and how can you help in the plug revenue leakages. So what happens is, if you are the growth partner is not only about getting them for the funding. So it's as I said, it's about the CFO. So it's about first learning and improving your efficiencies in terms of what all practices are there that are in the market today, and then what are the global practices, especially practices at the larger companies who have learned it over the years, and then they have brought them into those systems into their companies. For example, in any company, there may be loosely ended people who are making the invoices, and then those invoices are being put up in their respective export documentation, the banks, or even from the GST perspective. So if you are able to make them a proper fund chart flow, maybe an Excel based software where everybody who has a core responsibility. So what happens is, suppose in this whole job work, you have to break it into 10 particular joints, and those 10 joints, suppose it is being monitored, it has been worked by suppose 10 different people. So what is that, you in the whole workflow, you create it into 10 different joints. All the joints are then put up into the monitoring of or responsibility of 10 people. And at the back end, as an owner or as an auditor or as a consultant, you can just monitor that how many have done their work and uploaded into the system, done their work and uploaded the system. So you actually at the back end, you are able know that how many, where is the particular works stuck up, how many have been efficient, and that will only help you, even giving them incentives or the employee of the year award, employee of the month award, or the most efficient employee award. So that can only come when you have identified those key areas, divided them, programmed them in a way that everybody finishes their job of that particular work, and then really uploads it on that Excel, that the invoices are done, or they've been sent for the bankers, or the returns have been filed, or how regular the returns of GST have been done. So everybody who is the responsible person of that particular unit of that MSME, suppose you have 5 accountants or 6 accountants or 3 accountants or 10 who are the part of the entire journey of packaging to the billing to the bank, or the reconciliation or the indirect tax. So if you can break down the entire process, and then see who is under whom it has been coming, and then accordingly you can gauge the help the owner also gauge that if there is anywhere that it has been stuck or something, and you can actually, that will help you in plugging the revenue leakages also, because sometimes the proper efficient billing has not been done, proper efficient I would say GST returns are not filled up timely, or probably the budgeting has not been done in terms of the approvals and who is the approving authority for a particular purchase. So the moment break down that whole into the Excel process, they have to identify, yes, this was their job, they've done it or not. Green, they've done it. Red, they have not. So once you start learn the art of creating the entire process into a 10 point or a 5 point depending process, and then identifying for each process, identifying the key person who would mention in his daily routine or a weekly routine that what all has been completed or not completed. That is where you identify what is the leakage, where is the leakage, where has been the weaknesses of the systems. So I think it can also be a system implementer into your MSMEs. So we are getting few questions, and in case you still have any questions, we would be very happy to take them.
Yes, sir. We have 2, 3 more questions.
Yeah, please, please, please. So this is what we were discussing, this is a conventional approach of just, focusing only on the income tax returns, timely filings, and avoiding penalties and audits. Of course, all the statutory guidelines, and what is now that he's expecting more from us. What is the real difference between him and a CFO? And because, as you all are aware, that typical CFOs, even the salaries in the companies are much higher. So what is the reason, or what is he expecting, or how has been the CFO's role and responsibility, where they have been able to, being a strong pillar for their clients. So I think the entire thing is depending on that also. What tools CA should use to manage cash flows effectively? So there are a lot of tools, I would say, in terms of even the cash flows. For example, there are a lot of softwares that have started coming up in terms of the receivable management. There are a lot of clients who are very weak in their receivable management, in their stock management, in their inventory management. Then there were a lot of automation that was pending, or the people are not investing in terms of their the supply chain management. So there are a lot of areas where you, even as a financial consultants, can gauge that where are the weaknesses. For example, the stock holding. For example, we are working with a client. He's got a software called Auto Dukan, for example. So we are a consultant to them also. Now, what exactly does it do? The Auto Dukan is basically into the automobile sector. Now, what he does is that there are a lot of authorized or non-authorized workshops across the country of Maruti, of Hyundai, or many other places, where they have to keep a lot of inventory because every time they cannot go to a wholesale market to buy inventory almost on a every daily basis, or they send somebody, or the guy, they write an order. Similarly, in a medical prescription shop, medical pharmacy, you would see, which are still the unorganized market in the conventional, I would say, the pharmacies, they are still running on that, that they'll make the, typical, they may make a invoice on the digital platform, but, or maybe in the manual thing also, but yet the procurement is still purely manual even today. So if you're able to, digitize that, the auto dukan does the same. So now he says he has what software that he has made is, and now he's raising almost 50 crores. What he has done is that he has automated the supply chain of the entire automobile market. So you don't have to worry about your dependency. He has digitized your entire inventory. Now you don't have to keep a 10-day inventory. You can only keep a maximum 3-day inventory, because on a very, very regular basis, a very fast basis, he's got collaborations with the wholesalers. He's got collaboration with the porter and the delivery and other agencies who can pick and drop, supply chain, collection, receivable, all under one roof. So if you can actually bring in such kind of experiences, where you bring in the kind of technologies that are operating today in the traditionally run family owned businesses, pharmacies, workshops, or many other businesses, I would say. So if you can bring in those kind of technologies, that is where you can actually bring in a lot of innovative products and services and respect, and of course the fees. So this is where we have a lot of opportunity. Similarly, in terms of cash flows, as I said, both in terms of inventory management, supply chain management, receivable management, how much do you keep your inventories, how much do you hold, and or how much is stuck up, which was never properly monitored, or who is monitoring them. For example, if today even the bankers have become very strict in terms of NPA management. Earlier it was, uh, when I had started my career, I remember it was all manual. Then it gradually shifted into automated, and then also 3 months was when they would start getting aggressive, public sector especially. But today, with the RBI getting more strict, they are now right from the day one, they are very, very vigilant. And the moment they are the first NR, or I would say first non-payment, even from the first 1 month. So their banks have now, even the PSU banks are now supposed to report it, and then there is a committee that sits upon the first month and the second month, and of course after the 3 months they become very strict upon it. So I think these are all things which you can now, as a consultant, bring into your table, bring into your MSME client. You can actually, because of the, thanks to ICI and other skill development bodies like NISBERT and other MSMEs, there are a lot of software programs that you can always learn and then imply it upon your clients, whereby you can actually help him to streamline his business, automate his business, bring in more software and technologies and products. We don't have to be, your accountant doesn't have to type all the invoices or scan all the invoices. You can just scan the invoice, and that takes care of a lot of your time. You don't have too many of staff. So these all things can actually help you in the reducing the cash burden of your clients, and then probably, of course, that increases your fee as well. How can we assist in preparing the bankable project reports and CMA data? I think this is one of the very core strength. Of course, traditionally also the CAs have been doing it in terms of creating the project reports and the CMA data. And as I said earlier, also that this is I think has been our bread and butter for a long, long time. And for those also who are still new to this, I think this is one of the most exciting, aggressive, and yet uh, an opportunity to make a decent fee also, because the better the project reports are, the better, and the more practical the your CMAs are, or if the forecasting is, the more confidence that you gain from the bankers and the investor today, because even the investors know what is practical and what is theoretically made, so it cannot be bluffed. So depending upon your experience, if you are able to make such good bank sorry CMA data or the good project reports. So this can be additional line of services where you can have your in-house team that is purely specializing in creating understanding the businesses in detail. This can be a good revenue generation for you also, where you understand the business and then you create a project report and the CMS. So this is again one of the very interesting avenues of fee. We have one more question coming up. How can CS help MSMEs build long-term enterprise value and investor confidence? It's very, very important. I think, as I said earlier, also my personal experience of last couple of years where my practice has grown decently well, but my satisfaction, work satisfaction, job satisfaction has grown, I would say 10x myself, where, MSME now look up to us and invite us to their places for conferences to guide them how MSMEs who were earlier reliant only on traditional approach, traditional accountants or traditional accounting softwares, how what all opportunities do they have to increase their efficiency, opportunity, growth, funding, and the new age of private equity. And people like doctors, engineers, in fact, we got all kind of people. They can be cosmetic brand, or they are we what the clients that we are working with are the cosmetic brands. They are the clothing brands, a shoe brand who has just made shoe out of vegan products. Even he wants private equity. So I think the opportunity today is humongous. It's just about us how quickly we prepare ourselves from all of these and make the most of it. In terms of long-term enterprise and investor confidence, the investor confidence comes from you. If you are able to prepare your client before reaching to the investors, you first understand what exactly an investor is looking at. So, because the investor is today is very sharp, we've got the best of brains sitting there. Uh, Most of them are IIM Ahmedabad or even IITians who are sitting there to scrutinize our profiles and proposals. So they are expecting much more from us today. We don't act like a broker. We act like a consultant. We act like a true representative. We act like a virtual CFO, taking our clients, handholding them, and really making them responsible, because this is what the responsibility has been given to us, being a member of the CA fraternity as a CAs ourselves. I think this is what they look upon us. So we do our work very diligently, and that is where the investor confidence on us also improves. How CAs can prepare for SME IPOs and alternate funding options? This, as I've been saying from the last 1 hour, that this is one of the best times where we have seen the SME IPOs happening, and most importantly, in the last of the slides, or probably as we all must be aware, that Nika did not take an IPO on the first very day. Boat did not come with an IPO on the first very day. There are a lot of other companies, they did not just ran for an IPO on the first or second, third year of their operations. They took a decent time, they created value, they created enough in the market, and then probably raised 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 crores also. So that is where they waited for the right opportunity, created, they increased their growth through the route of first HNI funds, then venture capital funds, then private equity. But they created their companies to such kind of a level where the SME IPOs were oversubscribed even 10 or maybe 100 times. So I think if you are having that kind of an experience where you can actually handhold them and take them to a larger platform, that is what it matters today. And so to create them for alternative funding options, there are a lot of alternative funding options. As I said, traditionally a banker will not give you more than 1 crore of unsecured, maybe 2 crores unsecured. 3 crores is what max he can give on a CGMS. Then there are a lot of queries. Traditionally, a Tata, Aditya Birla, or an Adani Finance will not give you more than 50 lakhs unsecured loans. But today, there are a lot of companies who are giving up to 10 crores, 20 crores, or even up to 100 crores of unsecured loan. But then that experience has to come from you. We'll be happy to take some questions because now the time is a little short to us. But in case you have any quick questions, we'll be very happy to take one or two more quick questions.
No, sir, we don't have any other
Okay.
questions right now. If
That's
we have,
sure. So we'll take up this. The last question that we can take up. How can CA transform routine compliance and tax filing into a value-added growth advisory services? So, in terms of in the compliance and the tax advisory also, I think with the kind of softwares that have already come up in the market there are a lot of be it Zoho or other companies who have simplified. There are a lot of other companies who have created automated softwares. I think this filing an individual return has become a very low paying job. But if you can automate that whole system into your businesses, then definitely there are a lot of opportunities where you can automate those systems into your business practices, and you can streamline such systems into your own practice or in your own company, where with a very minimal staff you can have at least you can help file the returns of at least 100 or even 1,000 clients with a very minimal staff. But that would surely require more automation at your office levels. So if you are able to automate such products and services, there are a lot of companies that are now automating the production services. If you can take there are very many companies who are there with that have got the automated softwares, where just with the PAN number they are able to retrieve most of the information. So I think filing with the multiple SSCs is now becoming very reasonably faster. So in case you have any kind of such opportunities also, I think by automating your own self, they can be you can increase the number of clients that you can do. I think we can uh, to wind it up. I would say that this is what a typical we all are compliance officers to a growth partner CA. Typically, we were into the historical financial data or the ensuring that the tax laws are followed and regulations are met. We're filing the returns and manage the audit risk, reactively, and limited our scope only to the statutory requirements. But now we are what is required is how we are able to understand the AI and its usage in the market. How we are more proactive. How can we help him in both the tax efficiencies and to plan him when to go from private limited to limited, and it should not be left to the last stage or to be taken it earlier, depending upon the horizon of how much funds he's looking. When does he plan to go for an IPO? Is he planning it too soon or maybe sometime later? So I think these all things are where as an experienced consultant, you can always apply as we grow. And of course, he would require transaction advisory from you in terms of mergers, acquisitions, and complex transactions. And of course, the AI-driven financial systems, where first you have to understand how they work, and then how efficiently you can imply into your systems, and then of course you can imply into the MSME also, so that you are able to streamline their businesses, their approach to do business. But of course, that would mean that you also learn it at your end first, and then gradually, once you have learned them, nurtured them, put up in your own offices, that is where you can actually bring into their clients also. Why clients need a growth partner today? Because the regulatory complexities are there, their competitive markets, the technologies are changing too fast. They need somebody who is more proactive, and whom they can rely, or who are a go-to kind of a consultant, where they'll be more having a faith to not only gain the knowledge of what is happening around, but how faster they can adapt to the new changes and take their practices or take the businesses onto a higher level. So I think now even the client is becoming more demanding from us, and that is the time when we all need to, fasten our I would say, approach and hone ourselves. And these are the basic, once your relationship grows, engage early in your strategy, discuss with your MSME clients what they're looking at, what are the prospects, what is the vision, what is the target, what is the businesses that they're looking at. Integrate the tools that you feel that that can be helpful for him, his growth. Establish and ongoing partnerships which can help in the value creation, long-term strategy, advisory roles, advisory services. So I think these are a lot of other businesses opportunities that we can always be a part of. We've got one more question coming up. What are the actions or steps and upskilling required for CAs to become subject matter expert in MSME sector in order to provide various services? As I've been saying, that there are a lot of things that we can always start with, and I think it's purely out of your interest, time, and how much you are able to dedicate your time in learning. I think this is the learning that is probably one of the most important areas, apart from just not learning the earlier, it was a time when we had to actually go through the books and try to identify what are the case laws, what are the definitions. But I think ChatGPT has reduced that time for us. It has increased our efficiency in terms of finding a relevant case law also, so we don't have to mug up or search too much of Google to identify a decent case law. I think he can give us case laws very easily. Similarly, there are a lot of other AI tools that are now businesses are using, both in terms of, as I said, both in terms of recoveries, or probably inventory management, data protection, or many other tools where that can increase the efficiency of not only yours but also of your clients. So those tools can be used. Similarly, in terms of fundraise, which is another very active areas that the clients require today is. So in that also you can help him by understanding that how for every business growth that he would require after exhausting his all his the collaterals, how we can still help him to raise capital. So I think these are all the areas where we've been discussing that these are the areas where uh, they look upon you, they look upon your guidance, and of course your knowledge, and that also multiplies your fee also. And yes, this is what the typical, as we're taking the family, though somebody had asked what the difference between typically traditional businesses, family owned, the traditional business models, linear growth patterns, bank loans, and dependent only on local market. While the startups, they are very, very aggressive. The promoters are very aggressive, especially the technocrats are very, very aggressive in terms of technology, in terms of growth, in terms of funding, in terms of market reach. So I think in the new age, I think if you have to really practice in a competitive world, I think these are the few areas that you have to, be very, very well equipped with, so that you are able to, get a great client of a startup, and then because they pay well, they are very demanding, and of course, that is again a great area of your professional growth also. So I think since we are very short of time, if you have any other questions, or maybe I would leave to Sir, in case I think most of things I think I've broadly covered.
No, sir, we don't have any other questions. Uh,
I think broadly, I think what all I wanted to share, I think I've shared most of it today. And so, in case there are any other queries, I would be happy to take up anytime later also. They can always write to me, and would be happy to participate.
please share your email ID, sir, with the participant, so they can reach to you if they want.
I will one second. So That's my email ID that has been written there. So in case anybody wants to connect with us, they can surely connect with us also. And we'll be happy to take any questions that may come up in the near future also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for wonderful session, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you for giving the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again.
Thanks.
Thank you, tech support team. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.